Chaney. Scott, thanks for coming in on a Sunday.
Absolutely. I wish we didn't have the special edition of Hold All Tickets, but here we are.
Is this something you went to sleep thinking about last night?
No, absolutely. It's one of the biggest races in California of the year, and you hate for it to end in the steward stand. I mean, it's just not, it's not something stewards look forward to or want. I mean, sometimes there's a popular sort of opinion that we like to be involved, but that couldn't be farthest from the truth, especially in a big race like this.
Well, I think everybody saw there was a lot going on out there.
Absolutely.
And the initial perception, to me, came out completely different when I watched the replays. Were you all immediately thinking one way and then changing? Was there a lot going on? Because this inquiry took 10 minutes or so.
No, absolutely. It's funny because I actually watch it live. I watch it with binoculars, whereas my colleagues watch it on TV. So they get kind of the head-on version, which gives you a little more accurate vision of what happened. So in my case, it looked like inside horse is coming out. Oh, geez, and this horse hangs on to win. We're looking at maybe a DQ here.
Right.
But then, as you're showing right here, the head-on is really the instructive view, I think. In our view, and this was a majority decision, it was 2-1. Our view was that the middle horse was really the horse to blame. I think if you look at the inside horse, the eventual winner, Game On Dude, this horse really stays pretty straight, and maybe he can say he came out an inch or something like that. And visually, I think it sort of played against us in terms of Chantal hitting the horse left-handed, which she's perfectly free to do as long as she's maintaining a straight course, which in our view she was. And then Twirling Candy comes in, hits her hind end, which actually turns the horse, as you can see right there, twice, and makes it look as if she's coming out. So I think visually, to sort of the casual observer, it might look like her horse was drifting out. But I think after sort of a close inspection, as you pointed out, we looked at it 15 or 20 times.
And I look at this. You see a shift of weight from Joel Rosario when he gets the horse to switch leads, Twirling Candy.
Sure.
And horses respond to that shift. And you see him go in as the lead switch is made, but the rider's weight is still in the left stirrup. So you can see that initial movement of Twirling Candy.
Right. I mean, it's funny to hear the fallout. There's all sorts of different ideas about what happened. I think what a fact is that Twirling Candy was coming in. There is apparently a school of thought out there who doesn't see that at all. I think if you don't see that, you're really not good at the analysis. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, for me, the difficult question in this case was whether the inside horse came out or not. And I think that's the tough call. One of my colleagues felt like it was a 50-50. The middle horse and the inside horse came together and made contact, in which case you'd have to disqualify both horses.
Right.
In practicality, that doesn't mean much to Twirling Candy because he finished behind the eventual second place finisher. For the majority, myself and Tom Ward, we believe that most of the bumping was caused by the middle horse.
I agree with that. I mean, it looked to me like Twirling Candy came out and bumped the outside horse initially, causing him to then come out in. And look at this. I mean, the hind end of the winner is bumped out twice. It's amazing. Now, we have, you talked about a lot of responses coming in, and we've had some responses come into the studio. And one of those questions was, when a horse like Setsuko puts his nose in front and Game On Dude comes back on, does that play into the factor of decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, it normally would. I think if the interference was a little cleaner, because oftentimes you have part of the rule says the interference has to occur in the part of the race where it costs the horse to interfere with the opportunity of better placing. So if it happens at the beginning of the stretch, another horse actually puts his nose in front, and the other horse comes back on, you're like, well, he had an opportunity to sort of make up for that interference. In this case, it didn't come into play because we didn't think the inside horse was the blameworthy horse, and so that really wasn't part of the analysis. The horse that we put the blame on finished fifth, and so that particular thing wasn't part of the analysis.
And it still impacted Setsuko's finish because it took the wind out of him.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question that Setsuko was interfered with. And the question is, who interfered with him? I've actually heard a school of thought who thought Setsuko was the horse to blame, that he kind of put pressure on from the outside, right? Which I think is not a good analysis either of what happened, but it's out there. I think the hard part for me, this is one of those 50-50. It's illustrated by the vote in the steward stand. It's kind of illustrated by some of the responses that we've gotten. Had we made a change, let's say a double DQ, I think you still look at the an outcry. People disagreeing with that decision. Unfortunately,
were you getting hate mail this morning? The beacon of light, or whatever they called you?
we get a fair amount of feedback, I would say. We get email,
Feedback.
we get phone
Well
calls, those kind of things. I mean, you usually don't get people call you up and say, hey, what a great decision. Usually your friends do that, right? But
Really?
people usually call for explanations, which we're
Yeah.
happy to give.
And I'm
because-
sure you didn't come in via Clocker's Corner this morning.
Well, fortunately, no, we start at 9, so I went straight to the office.
A good move.
get
But I
your
mean,
oatmeal
it's
over
one
there.
of those situations where I think you're faced with a couple bad alternatives. My colleague and the people who think that there should have been a double disqualification, I don't disagree with them. I mean, I think that really is a 51-49 kind of thing. Just as I think that if you said, man, I kind of would have gone the other way, you can't think that we made some horrible, awful decision that had no basis in reality. That's just not fact. I think this is a tough one that unfortunately happened in one of the biggest races of the year.
Probably your
Reminiscent of the
toughest
Wicked North.
one of the whole meet.
Probably. Oh, absolutely toughest of the meet. And
Maybe of the career.
yeah. I mean, we had Twirling Candy in the Del Mar Derby last year. I think that was kind of an easy one, even though it was dramatic. This is a tough one. I think it goes either way. So I don't fault our critics. I think a rational look at it it's a tough one.
Well, you're very brave to come on with us.
Anytime. Well, at least we don't have to
appreciate
take callers or anything like that, right?
And we'll have security escort you out there on Friday for the next edition of Hold All Tickets. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hopefully a calm day.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.